Here. All right, let me get to some news so Brian doesn't get in trouble. President Trump will host the NATO Secretary General at the White House today after saying allies must spend more on defense.
Yep, this is a consequential meeting. Meanwhile, in Canada, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is at the G7 summit, and he's about to meet with his Canadian counterpart, and they're going to talk a little tariffs, too.
At any moment, and we are live in Washington with all the details. There's Peter. Hey, Peter.
Yes, Secretary Rubio has crossed the front lines in the trade war. He is in Canada, and if the Canadians want to complain to somebody in person about the tariffs, it's going to have to be him. He is there for this meeting of the G7 foreign secretaries in Quebec. Those meetings of foreign secretaries can be so boring, but not today, and that's going to happen any minute. Back here at the White House, the main event today is going to be a visit from the NATO Secretary General Rutte, as the president wonders aloud about reforms to the alliance, where members are bound to defend other members if attacked.
NATO has to treat us fairly if they pay their bills and if they do what they're supposed to do. When I first got involved with NATO, as you know, they weren't paying their bills. NATO's expended a lot of that money in fighting this horrible war, and it's too bad they had to do that. But they had the money from me. I was the one that got people to pay. The countries, but NATO can be a force for the good, absolutely.
We know the president's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is in Moscow today. We've reached out to his team about reports that Mr. Witkoff is planning to meet with Putin at some point in the next couple hours, and that could be a key step towards the end of the war in Ukraine.
People are going to Russia right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace. And we're getting close to maybe getting something done.
So President Trump says he wants a ceasefire in Ukraine, but it's up to Russia. The Russians have just put out the word that they are ready to talk to the Americans about this plan the Ukrainians have agreed to for a ceasefire as early as today. Back to you.
Pretty amazing. Peter, the one thing I hear, it's a non-starter for international troops. That's what Lavrov keeps saying. We will not want Russia, French or British troops or any NATO troops in there. And that's the one thing that Ukraine says. I have to have troops in there. We need some type of tripwire. Do you think it's posturing, or do you think this is going to be an impasse?
It seems like it could be an impasse because and that is part of the reason why Donald Trump just went directly to Moscow to start these negotiations instead of going through NATO, because you're hearing some of these other key NATO members like the Brits saying, well, there's got to be, at a minimum, some NATO troops in there because we don't take Putin at his word that a ceasefire will be agreed to for more than 30 days, or that he's not going to try to invade again, or that he's not going to do it once Trump leaves. And there is Secretary Rubio meeting with one of his counterparts in Canada. And so it seems like it could be an impasse. There is very little trust among Western leaders for Vladimir Putin, but Donald Trump is willing to hear him out. That's why he's got his personal envoy there in Moscow right now, so that they can see if there is a way to end the bloodshed. Because President Trump is talking about how he prioritizes saving lives of Ukrainians and Russians instead of just basically blaming Putin for things that have happened over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and Rubio is going to be talking to them about tariffs, right? He says the focus will be on Ukrainian issues and other common topics. But Canada said, you know, we're not going to be talking about the annexing of our country, being the 51st state. And Rubio says we are not going to talk about how we're going to take over, we want to take over Canada. And
Rubio's got a tough job, right? He's the one that they sent down to the Panama Canal first. Hey, go figure this out.
And
now
Venezuela.
he's in Canada. And those meetings typically, especially like these foreign secretary meetings that they have a couple months before the heads of state get together with the G7, they can be so boring. And everybody's just reading off a list of things that they're supposed to say to each other. But it seems like today, the Canadians have real problems with the American strategy, and Rubio is going to have to be the tip of the spear for President Trump. Trump got elected with this America First foreign policy, and Rubio is going to have to take all the incoming and explain what it is that his boss is going to do.
Right. He speaks good Trump.
Yeah, he does.
So we'll see.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is interesting, though, Brian. You say he speaks good Trump. I think he aligns with the president on a lot of it. his style is just different than the president on how he approaches it. He's an excellent diplomat. He's very read in on all the issues. I think he's so different from the former secretaries of states because it seems like they clashed a little bit. They had their own agenda at one point. You have Rubio that agrees with the agenda but has a different style than the president.
Yeah, I was asking Rubio, how are you handling this? Every time we show you on TV, you're in another country. And I said, it's only been a few weeks and you've traveled to, what, 20 countries? He says, not quite that many, but a lot. And he said his children are grown now, his wife is completely understanding, and the foreign policy is what he's known for.
That's right.
That's what he loves doing. Mike Waltz, too, has been a great companion.
Yes, he has.
They both see each other.
They complement one another.
Well, let's see how he does when he's surrounded. Essentially, he's going to be surrounded. He's going to be an island because every other country is angry at the United States because of the tariff talk. And in fact, the EU, what they're trying to do, they're trying to be punitive, where they are attaching gigantic tariffs to things that are made in red states, like orange juice down in Florida, like peanut butter, which is made from peanuts in Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina, and also spirits, taking a shot at Kentucky.
Well, they're playing a risky business, and I like what the president did yesterday when he was talking to the Prime Minister of Ireland. He goes, sir, I'm not putting it on you. He goes, well, I have a property there, and you guys got the permits done fast. He goes, it looks like the EU is trying to stop the business, and so there's that diplomacy in him of saying, look, I like your country, I love your people, I love my property that is there. You're not the problem. It's really the EU. And I think that was a great contrast that he did in that meeting yesterday.
So now President Trump is threatening a 200% tariff on all wine coming from Europe. And whiskey, I think, coming from Europe if they don't remove what they did on whiskey yesterday. So this is getting tough. But whatever you do, guys, can we argue about something else besides liquor?
Right.
America needs our liquor, so does Europe. Can we argue about something?
Right.
How about soybeans?
We're 51 minutes away from quitting time.
Not me.
Come on.
Well, I like
Almost
wine.
Miller time.
I like California wine. I'll just drink it.
too.
California.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't want
American-made.
anything punitive about not buying American products overseas. That's why the family fights. Let's get them done right away. Get this done in the first few months of the administration, and then we'll work out new deals, and then do a new U.S.-UK free trade deal. That will be
It's all a negotiation. All these numbers right now, none of these numbers are going to wind up being the final numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers are going to all be, negotiated each side, and at the end, Donald Trump's going to say, okay, I got a good deal. You're welcome, America.